Okay, you guys should have a notification that's saying it's being recorded. Okay, so getting back to what I was saying earlier is that the hypotheses on the canvas are all things that you believe are true, but you're going to find out if they're true by going out and talking to customers and stakeholders and users and people that would buy your product or service. So what you want to focus on right out of the gate is, who are my customer segments? What's the value proposition? Marcus will probably teach you more about that, but the big idea behind a value proposition is, this is the reason that they're buying your software, because the value you deliver by your product, because the value you deliver is something that they care about. And the other thing you want to focus on is, what is the problem you're solving? And this is super important because most entrepreneurs have some technology or some idea, but they don't necessarily understand the problem they're solving from the customer standpoint. So one way to focus on that right out of the gate is over here on this menu right here, the gear. It allows you to control things on the canvas. And one of them is a skinny canvas, which allows you to just start by filling out your customer segment's value proposition and the problem. Now, to fill out the canvas, it's just super easy. You could just click the mouse in any section and you'll get an empty text box, and you can enter your hypo here, just like that. And when you hit return, it's going to be automatically saved. And then it'll give you a new box, and you can just keep typing and hitting return and typing, hitting return, and you can fill out your business model canvas in a couple minutes. When you're done, you just hit return on the empty box and it will go away. When you hover over a hypothesis, you'll get a menu that shows you the options that you could have. The first one here is a commenting mechanism that will allow Marcus and anybody else who's helping you, coaching you, to give you feedback on your hypotheses. The reason we have this feature is because one of the biggest reasons this process never is successful is because people don't construct well thought out hypotheses at the beginning, which means you go do customer discovery on the wrong people, asking the wrong questions, and it's not a very rewarding process. But by really thinking through your hypotheses and having someone mentor and coach you on them to make sure you're really on target, you stand a better chance of out of the gate getting traction and getting validation. This icon right here allows you to see the insights that come from customer discovery. I'm going to cover that later. This feature right here allows you to link the hypotheses to a customer segment. And you'll also notice everything here has tooltips on it, so you can just hover over anything in the application. It'll explain what it is to make it easier for you to learn to use it. The idea behind linking a hypothesis to a customer segment is you should be able to demonstrate how each one of your hypotheses relates to a customer segment. So if I click this icon, what it'll do is it'll list all those customer segments. And if I want to, I'll say I want to link this new one to this customer segment too. And you'll notice as soon as I do that, it'll highlight that customer segment. So we have a mechanism that whenever you hover over a hypothesis, it will light up the customer segments it's related to. And if you hover over a customer segment, it will light up all of the hypotheses that it is also linked to. And you'll notice there's also a link icon here. If I want to, I can click on this and it'll just show me that customer segment and everything that's connected to it. This is very useful if you're trying to just focus on your customer discovery on one hypothesis, one customer segment, and they may have some dependent hypotheses that you should also validate. This helps you stay focused on that. You want to get out of that mode, you just click this X and it'll show all the hypotheses on the canvas again. Okay? Another feature I want to mention here is that it's pretty self-explanatory that when you have enough evidence that you feel that the hypothesis is valid, you just click that and it'll validate it. Or if you want to, you can click this and it'll mark it as invalid. And you can always toggle it again to go back to the state of white, which is I'm not sure. And the reason is that you may start your customer discovery, get some early traction, feel like you validated something, but as time goes on, you might find out your early signal wasn't strong enough, and it's really not. So you could change the state of your canvas hypothesis over time. We actually encourage you to do that. And I'll also mention that we keep a complete history of the entire changes that happen to your business model canvas. You can use this slider right here to go back in time to any point in time in the business model canvas, even back to the beginning, and then you can just step through it. I'm just using the right cursor key on my keyboard to do that. So you could just drag this thing, or if you want, this has a menu that shows each period in your cohort and you can jump to it. One of the nice benefits of being able to go into the past is the ability to export the way it used to be. So you can export the canvas right here through this menu, and it'll export it as a PowerPoint slide. So you can open it up in Google Sheets or Google Slide or Apple Keynote or Microsoft PowerPoint. Then what you could do is go back to the current time by unlocking the canvas. And if you export again, now you have two slides that you go back to back that will show you where you were and where you are now. Really useful when you're trying to present to someone the progress you've made as you've gone through customer discovery.
Hey, James, what's the best way to handle questions during this?
Go ahead and interrupt me. I'd rather address them right now when we're on the feature.
Okay, awesome. This is Carletta. I missed how you linked when you were over in the hypothesis and you linked that to the customer discovery.
Yep.
I looked like 2 seconds and it was like, what?
Yep. Yeah, I'll do it again. So you just hover over hypotheses, up comes this menu, and you'll see that one of the icons is to be able to link it to a customer segment. So you just click the link icon and it pulls down a menu, and now you can see all of the customer segments. So let's link this guy to early adopter 2. And notice as soon as I click this checkbox, you'll see that the current hypotheses we're on, it's called Enter Your Hypotheses. It's got a blue outline around it, and as soon as I click early adopter 2, that will have a blue outline around it as well. See? So
okay,
just like that. Okay?
All right, thank you. And okay, I lost the other one. All right, thank you.
Okay, and while I'm here, I'm just going to explain that same feature, that link mechanism, when you're looking at a customer segment, something in these boxes, what it does is it literally filters the canvas so you only see that customer segment and the other hypotheses that are connected to it. So it's kind of like being able to treat your whole business model canvas as a business model canvas for each customer segment. And the reason is because this whole process is focused on interviewing customers, trying to understand whether they have a need that your product or services meets. You want to do customer discovery in a way where you actually do not tell them about your idea or your product. I know that may sound counterintuitive, but the trick is to be able to talk to people and ask them questions without telling them what you're doing. Because if you tell somebody, hey, I have a great idea to do X, Y, Z, they might just be polite and say, hey, that's a really good idea. But what you want out of customer discovery is you want people really talking about the problems and their pain points and what they care about and what they spend money on without you leading the witness, so to speak, because you want to get accurate data from that. So from that perspective, this is all focused on the customer. And when you have these different customer segments, you could think of each customer segment as somebody who would buy the product or use it, and they're different because they either expect different features or they pay a different price. Like, for example, we sell our software to startups and we also sell it to enterprises, and they pay a different price. So they're different customer segments. So you want to really think about these customer segments, because if you get them wrong, the problem is you go out and start talking to people and you kind of get nowhere. So Marcus will help you through this. There's help built into the platform to help you do this as well. I'll show you where that is later. But getting your customer segments right is really important. And then as you do discovery or interview each one of these customer segments, you want to think about the right questions you're going to ask that customer segment. So for example, in my world, my software gets sold to one person like Marcus who makes the decision to buy it, and then there's somebody else like you who will actually use it. So I would ask them different questions. Marcus, what do you need to know to make a decision to buy something is a good question I would ask him. Whereas for you, I'd say, what do you need to do to get your job done to do these interviews? So the better you get at formulating hypotheses and then constructing the right questions for each one of these customer segments, the better this process is going to go for you. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox right there. So I think I pretty much covered the basics of the business model canvas. Just hover over hypotheses. All these options are available to you. I will mention we have the ability to delete a hypothesis, but really shouldn't do it unless you just entered that hypothesis accidentally. If you've done customer discovery around it, you shouldn't delete it if it's no good. You should just mark it as invalid. And if you get to the point where you have a bunch of invalid hypotheses, which is a good thing, then you can just come over here and you could say, I want to hide those invalidated ones, and all the red ones will go away. And you could just focus on what's good, what's green, what's valid, and what you need to work on. So, and I encourage you to look at all these menu options right here. I'm not going to go through them all for the demo today. Okay, any questions on this before I move forward into customer discovery? I love questions.
No, it's fine. Thank you.
Great. Okay, so the meat of the platform is the second feature, which we're on now, which is the interviews. And the idea behind the interviews is you're going to conduct customer discovery interviews with these people. And on the left, you see the list of all the people that you've talked to and all the interviews you have. And in the center is the information that came out of that interview. And then over here, we have what we call the insights engine, which allows you to keep track of important insights that come from customer discovery. Now, I was talking before about customer segments and how you really want to have a set of questions that you use for each customer segment. And that's what these templates are, okay? So you will be able to create templates that have the questions that you want to ask. So here we have one for customer segment 2. I'll show you what that looks like. It asks a bunch of open-ended questions like, tell me, how do you do such and such today? Or do you use any tools or software to get this job done? Or if you could wave a magic wand, you could do anything you can't do today, what would that be? All of these questions are designed to get that person to start talking about their job, the work, the problems they have, so that you could better understand them. And you'll notice none of these have anything to do with talking about your solution or your product. So you create this template. This is just essentially a text editor. You can format it the way you want. We have, rich text editing where you can change the fonts and formatting and create lists and links, whatever. And then when you're done, you save the template and you go back to the interview. And then when you create a new interview, we'll just do this, call this test person. You can fill out their company, their title, email address, phone number, etc., how you talk to them, in this case, internet call. And then down here, there's a menu that allows you to pick the interview template. So we'll pick customer segment 2. You'll notice over here we have some additional data. And if you want to create your own fields, you could do that. So maybe you want to know something like their salary, right? I'm not sure if they tell you that, but you can save that. And then they could put whatever, and they have $1 million a year. You could put that information, and that way you could track your own additional information you want to track with the interview. But again, we use interview template, customer segment 2. Now when I click save, it's going to create a new interview, and you will see that template is now filled out there. So when you're doing your notes, when you're doing your interview with your customer, you could just type the answers to the question. So tell me how you do this today. They might say, we do it manually, right? It's hard. I'm just typing fast, you guys. And I can't type. But the point is, you want to keep track of the important insights that come from that customer discovery. And the way you do that is you just simply select the text that you want to keep track of. And you'll notice it over here, it's starting to be selected. What we're doing now is we're going through the process of creating an annotation or creating an insight. I just selected some text. It showed up over here. If I want, I could categorize this. So by default, everything is a general insight, but maybe this is a request for a feature. They will have a process that's manual. They want to automate it. So I can tag this as a new feature. It could be a question that I want to keep track of for future customer discovery. Maybe at the end, I'm asking for an interview candidate. I can categorize it that way. Or it's a new hypothesis that came from this customer discovery interview that made me think about maybe another customer segment or a revenue stream. Who knows? So we'll call this a feature request. We'll leave a comment like, let's build this feature. I'm just making this up, you guys, just for the demo. And then down here, you notice it says you could link that insight to a hypothesis. So if I click on this, now I have all my different sections of the canvas. So I'll click on my customer segment, and I'll say, yeah, I want to link this to customer segment 2. And I want to say that this supports that. So I can either click up or down on this thumbs to say whether it supports it or not. And then when I click save, you'll see that it saves that object and it shows it right here. So I can create multiple of these insights as I develop the insights that come from customer discovery. So for example, at the end of this interview, we said, hey, can you recommend anybody else in your network that I may talk to schedule another interview? And they might say, yeah, here's the first name, last name, phone number, or whatever. And then I can say, oh, there's an interview candidate. And I can then just click save. And now I have kept track of someone that I need to follow up with and do another customer discovery interview with. Okay, so this insight feature is very useful for keeping track of the insights from your conversations, because what's going to happen is you will talk to a few people and then some more people and some more people. And as you start going through this process, it's very hard to keep track of all the things that people said. And you're not going to always go back and refer to your notes and reread them. So if you put this information, these insights in your notes as you do the customer discovery, you'll be able to see them, you'll be able to sift through them, and you'll be able to link them to your business model canvas and show that to other people. So I'm going to jump to an existing interview. Let's see, where are they? Give me a second here. Yeah, I thought I had one with, oh, I know. So you know what? Actually, you know what? I should have done that. Let me explain this to you. I should have shown you this feature. When you create a new interview, you'll notice that it's in a draft state, okay? And if you want, you can publish it. Why do we do that? Because until you finish the interview and you've got all your insights, you may not want people reviewing it and giving you feedback on it. So we're done with this interview. If I want, I can click the publish button and it says, you sure you want to do that? And I say, yep, I do. And now you'll notice that that has been moved to the publish folder. And if I look right here, there it is, okay? So I'm going to jump to an existing interview to show you how you can also transcribe the audio from the conversation. So most of your customer discovery calls are probably going to be done either on a Zoom call or a Chime call or something like this, Skype or whatever. And if that's the case and you can record the call, we strongly encourage you to do that. If you do that, then you'll be able to, here, I'm going to go back to your interview just to show you how this works. If you do that, you'll notice here there's a tab for the notes for the conversation and the transcription. Well, there is no transcription because we just created this. So we have two choices. One is I can click the record audio button, and it's literally going to start recording the microphone on my laptop right here. So if you're with the person in the same room and you want to record that call, that's how you can do that. But if you recorded it in, say, a Zoom call or some other, teleconferencing software, you can just take the audio file and drag it right onto here, and it'll upload it and transcribe it. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. So here we have an interview that's got some notes. And now when I click on the transcript, what you're going to see is a verbatim transcript of your conversation with the names of the people. Now, it is not psychic. It does not know your names. The way you know your names is you click this icon right here, and it'll say speaker 1, speaker 2, and you could play some of the audio, and then once you know who the speaker is, you could type in their name. So I'll just change this to Tom, and you'll see, oops, I just clicked the wrong keyboard. So I'll type in Tom here, and you'll notice when I save, Nick will change to Tom. So now, what's cool about this is we have this transcript, but we've actually got the text and the audio synchronized. And I'm going to demonstrate that for you by unplugging my headset. You hear it when I hit play. So I'm going to hit play, and as soon as the talking starts happening, we'll highlight the words in real time as they're spoken.
All right, so thank you for taking the time to meet with me today. Really appreciate it.
No problem. I'm happy to help.
Can you tell me a little bit about what you do here at Awesome Inc.?
So the reason we did this feature is because it allows you to find the important points in these transcripts and keep track of these same insights. So I'm just going to say this down here, this is something important we want to keep track of. So I just selected that, and you'll notice that same annotation mechanism happens where it selects it over here. I'll categorize it. I'll type in my comment like that, and then I'll link that again. I'll link this to the same customer segment, right? And now I'm actually using the voice of the customer. I'll say, yep, this supports that. I'm now creating an insight to link to the actual voice of the customer, what they said, so that if I actually come back here to my business model canvas, you're going to see when it shows that hypothesis, that customer segment, notice that on customer segment 2, there's that little badge on the upper right-hand corner with a thumbs up and a thumbs down, and there's a 4 next to it. So that's saying that there is 4 insights from our interviews that are connected to this hypothesis that support it. And if I hover over this hypothesis, you'll notice that there's now that thumbs up and thumbs down. And if I hover over this, it'll say, if I click here, it will let me view those linked insights. So I'm going to click on that, and then it pulls up a window and it shows me all the evidence that I have that either supports or doesn't support that hypothesis. So I can review this right here. And once the evidence becomes enough to either validate or invalidate it, I can just do that right here inside this little window. You'll notice there's even a speaker icon. So if I actually want to hear what the customer said, I can just hit play.
We've conducted a company-wide ideation challenge a few months back. Nearly 80%.
So now you can actually use the pull quote, the actual voice of the customer from that conversation, as evidence to support that hypothesis. And if you want, you'll notice as soon as I hover over this, it turns into a link, and I can say, okay, I want to go back to that interview and I want to listen to more. And so it's going to take me right back there, and boom, there it is. And I can listen to different sections of the interview. And I should point out that what you're looking at here is actually a full-blown transcription editor. So if there is a mistake in here, like if you'll notice here, this should be up here. I can do that like that, and I can fix this up because I think I came in here and messed around with this earlier. But you can edit this. There's a help here that will really help you understand what you can do with this. So the tab key, right? And if you think about it, you don't need the tab key in here because you're not tabbing. So we use the tab key to act like pause play, right? Just like you would on a CD player or on your MP3 player. So if you hit tab, it'll pause or play. If you hit tab and then left click your mouse, it'll move the playback right to that location and start playing from there. And we also have this tab with left and right bracket. You know, that's the key that's right next to the P key on your keyboard. That'll allow you to speed up and slow down the audio playback. So watch, I'll hit play and you'll hear what it sounds like, right? And then I'll speed it up a little bit.
All right, so thank you for taking the time to meet with me today. Really appreciate it.
So you can see.
No problem. I'm happy to.
Pardon?
So can you show that again, how you did the speed up and slow down? Like, I missed how you got to that toolbar.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to pull up the help menu just so you can see it, okay? And thanks for asking that. See this increase, decrease playback speed? It's tab. Oops, I clicked. It's tab in the left and the right bracket, okay? So if you look at your keyboard right now, you know where the P key is? Right
Yes.
to the right of that, There's the left and the right bracket. Don't tend to use those keys a lot. That's why we picked those. So you'll see if I hold the tab key, right now it's at 1.4. Here you can see this is the speed.
Yep, I see it. Yep.
Right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit tab left and it goes to, give me a second here. I'm going to hit tab left and it goes to 1.3, 1.2, 1.1, and I can go as fast as I want all the way up to, I don't know how fast we go, 2.0. And you'll.
And which, so this the cursor is at James, and this is the part you're speeding up, not the green highlight at the bottom.
Right, and wherever the cursor is playing back from, right.
Got it. Okay, that's what I was saying. Okay.
And since you asked, I'm going to reiterate this point. You can see where it says set the playback location. That's tab and left click. So what I'm going to show you how that works. So I'm going to just take the tab key and I'm going to click like right here at the ask. And I go click like that, and it'll move it to there. So you can play from wherever you want. That's too hard to listen to.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, go ahead and play with this. You'll get used to it in a few minutes once you understand how these work. The idea here, since you're asking, is that if you want, you can actually be editing and making changes to fix things up a little bit while you're listening. You don't have to stop and do that. That's the reason we support that functionality. But for the most part, the way you want to use this is you want to review what the customer said, find the parts that are really important, highlight those, annotate them, link them to your hypothesis as evidence. So, because if you do that, you've done yourself a lot of work. You've connected the dots. You can always come back later and you can see all those insights. You can click on your canvas. I'm just going to go back here because now that you know how that works, you'll recognize how much evidence there is in this canvas. So if you look, there's only a few hypotheses on this canvas that actually have any evidence. Customer segment 2, customer segment 1, early adopters, and the 2 problems. So just by looking at that, you can actually see how much evidence you have supporting or not supporting your business model canvas. Now, what ends up happening is over time, as you use this feature, you're going to create a lot of insights. So we have this view right here. It's called the Insights view. And it shows you all of the insights from all of your customer discovery interviews from you and all your team members in one place. So here's the one that we just created. and you can hover over it. You can see the text from the customer. You can see the comment. If you want, you can actually play the audio by clicking the speaker button. You can see who did the interview, the date of the interview, who the person you talked to. This icon right here says whether or not this thing is linked to anything on the business model canvas. So you can see if you're doing a good job of making sure you're linking all your evidence to your hypotheses. And you can scroll through this list. And this is really useful for going back and sifting through the interviews after the fact, because quite often, with a process like this, you'll interview people at the beginning, and then some time goes by and you interview many people, and it's very easy to lose track of the things that you learned at the start. And this allows you to sift through and see them all. And of course, you could just click on any of these things. It'll jump you right into that customer discovery interview. So you can use this as a mechanism to sift through things and go back and review the whole interviews themselves. Another nice feature about the Insights view is that you'll notice on the left, we have these filters. So the idea here is that you can filter the insights by the person who created them. So for this demo, this person, his name is Dinesh, right? And so if Dinesh says, I don't want to see my insights, I want to see all my team members, they can uncheck themselves and see them. Same thing, I'm going to fold this up. Same thing with category. I could say, I want to just see all of the new features that people requested through our customer discovery, and there they are. Maybe now I meet with the dev team and we talk about what features we're going to build. Or I could say, I'm curious to see all the interview candidates because I want to schedule some new interviews, and there they all are right there. So this just allows you to slice and dice, I say, through these insights and review them very quickly. And the last segment here allows you to look at the different parts of the canvas and see what insights you have. So for example, I'm going to turn everything off here and say, I just want to see all of the evidence related to our customer segments. And there, I'll click that, and then these are the ones that are connected to customer segments right here. So this is just a useful mechanism for you to, just review and review the insights that you've surfaced in the past, and maybe use them to navigate back to the interviews and listen in on different parts that might help you gain insight into what you learned. Any questions on this so far?
I have a question. So
Sure.
The students are going to be working with Randy to basically spend their seed money to go out, conduct the customer discovery exercises, and they're going to be tracking their expenses in a spreadsheet. And I'm trying to look here to see if there's like a unique identifier or something that they can copy and put into that spreadsheet so that they can link their expenses to specific hypotheses or interviews.
That's an interesting question. No, I don't have that feature. No one's asked for that. But that's so you want to link the insights to an expense. Okay.
If there's like an identifier or some kind of way for them to just at least copy and paste that over, it doesn't have to be. It was just going to be something to make it so that they don't have to, do so much excessive typing. But if there was a way to just copy and paste, that would be the deal.
I mean, you can't. So you're thinking of copying and pasting the hypotheses or copying and paste the insight?
Primarily at least the hypotheses, since it may be too cumbersome to do the insights. But
right,
if there's like a hypothesis ID number or something of that sorts,
there really isn't. So interesting thought, though. Yeah, I'm going to jot that down as a feature request, though. Okay, great question. Any other questions on what I've covered so far? Okay, so then one other thing I would like to, just a few other features I'd like to mention are, so we have search built in, so you can search for any sort of keywords you want inside here, like there, every time the word today came up. So if I want to, I can click on this, it'll take me right to it. So that's really helpful for doing search. Everything is indexed. The other thing I wanted to point out is we have a video library, and this library has several hours worth of lectures by Steve Blank. He's the person who essentially created this methodology called the Lean Startup or Lean Launchpad. And these are really good lectures. And I would say at minimum, I would watch like this section here, customer discovery best practices. I would definitely watch those. Customers lie. It's true. They tell you things to be polite and they may mislead you. So he's really good. These are short. I mean, with this one was 2 minutes and 37 seconds long. They're all like 2-3 minutes long. I would definitely go through and watch these. They'll help you understand the right principles of doing customer discovery. What I will say about customer discovery, because I do a lot of it, and when I started doing this years ago, I was really bad. And I had a lot of bad interviews because I didn't know what I was doing. But there's a couple psychological things that you should understand about humans when you're doing customer discovery. And the first is that humans don't always tell you the whole truth and the clear truth, especially if they're trying to be polite. It's not that they're trying to lie or they're trying to mislead you, but they don't want to hurt your feelings. And so it's very important that you don't ask them questions that make them validate your idea. So it's one thing to say, hey, do you do such and such? And how do you do that? And how important is that to you? It's another thing to say, I want to do this. How important is that to you? Because if you say, this is my idea, what do you think of it? Most people are going to be polite and say, well, I think that's a really good idea. Yeah. And in fact, now they're telling you to do something and to build a company around something that really they don't care. So there's a book I really love called The Mom Test. It's you can find it on the internet for free. And it's a short book. You can read it in a couple hours. The book really helped me because it taught me not to pitch, not to lead them into questions, to ask questions that were really based on curiosity and trying to understand their world and their pain points. Because if you ask somebody, let's say you have a solution, I have a solution X in mind. And if I start asking you questions and all of a sudden you say, what I really need is this, well, then you validated that without telling them. And that's a whole different fidelity of validation than saying, I have this idea. What do you think of it? So I would look at the mom test. And another thing is I found when you record your customer discovery interviews, what you will find is that if you go back and listen to them, you will be your own best critic because you'll listen to the way you talk to people and you'll realize if you were really curious, was I empathetic? Did I ask good follow-up questions or did I always want to tell them about my idea, right? Because that's very typical of founders. Clearly, you guys are here because you have a great idea, right? And so this is actually the time where you literally say, I'm going to put aside all of my excitement and the fact that I have a great thing that I want to share with people. And this is really about them and trying to understand their needs and their pain points. And what will happen if you approach it that way, you're going to find that people will tell you things that you just hadn't even thought of. And they might be features of your solution. They may be a new idea, a problem that you didn't realize existed. And it might even be a problem that's easier to fix than the one that you're working on. So the point is to go in with a kind of eyes wide open, really curious. Do not try and push your agenda and your idea on this. It's okay to let the conversations kind of move around a little bit. It doesn't have to stick to a script. We want you to start with the script or at least, a set of questions so you have a frame of being somewhat consistent. But if they start talking about a problem and they want to go, oh, but I have this problem, let me tell you about it. Well, tease it out of them. Tell me more. Get as much information as you can. Another good thing to do is after they tell you something, say, well, if I understand you right, is this what you said? And then repeat it in your own words to see if you really understood what they said. And then ask them questions like, well, how often do you do that? When was the last time you were doing that? When you were doing that, what were you doing before? How important is that for you to do that? See what I'm saying? The kind of questions that help you realize, because people will say, it's very easy for humans to complain. Our nature is if we're not happy about something, we'll complain, but we may complain a lot about something that we never pay to get fixed, right? So these are the kind of things where you just want to get as much understanding of their world out of this as you can. And another piece of advice I would give you is always at the end of the interview, always say, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate this. Now that we've talked, is there anybody else in your network that you think I should be talking to? Because that is going to open up the floodgates of finding new people related to the people you've already talked to, They might even send an email and say, hey, I'd like to connect you to James because he's doing this research. Please talk to him, right? So the point is, use the person you're talking to get referrals, record the interviews, listen to them. I say that scheduling the interview, conducting the interview is really only half of it. The other half is reviewing it. It's thinking about what they said. It takes some reflection, and that takes time, and spend some time on that because it's hard work to find them and to get them and to do them. So make the most out of it so that you really, really get the insights and apply them to your business model. And another thing is, don't be afraid to admit you're wrong. Because if anything, this process is specifically designed to find out where you are wrong. So if I can show you metrics of most teams, and when they start out, they have a whole set of hypotheses. And why do they put them there? Because they actually think they're right. Yet they go out and start talking to customers and they find out they're wrong. Now, for some people, it's hard to admit, wow, that customer doesn't care. But in fact, once you accept that, then you say, well, they don't care, but this customer does. And you can create a new hypothesis. And the process is one of iterating and going over through this process until you land on the set of hypotheses that are valid, so you don't have to build something or the wrong thing that nobody cares about. So anyhow, that's enough of me preaching about how to do customer discovery. Does anybody have any questions before we wrap up? Thoughts, feedback, anything?
No, this is a lot of good information. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Marcus, do you have anything you want me to cover before we wrap up here? Any questions anybody has?
No, I think that's a good interview, and Randy is familiar with the platform, and he's going to be able to really guide students through, I think, the day-to-day, week-to-week type of things, and he's also going to be able to. He's actually, I think you added him as a admin account, yeah. So he'll be able to provide feedback. I'll definitely go in as well, listen to some of the interviews and provide feedback where I can. But this has been great and it's very concise. So thank you for sharing this with us today.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys. It was great talking with you. Good luck with your cohort. I hope it goes well. If you have any suggestions, complaints, love complaints about the platform, right here on this thing, this is your avatar, right? And by the way, I should mention this where you go to your profile and you can upload a picture here so that when you're chatting with everybody, they'll know who it is. But the other thing we have here in this feature right here, you'll notice is help. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to us here. Just click the Ask button. We'll either chat with you online if we're online, or you can fill out a request and we'll get back to you. If you have any feature requests, please send them our way. This whole platform was built by us doing customer discovery on people like you and you telling us what you wanted. So with that, I'll let you guys go. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I had a quick question. I might have missed it because I came like 2 minutes late. How do you invite somebody to get on the platform if I wanted to record audio straight to this platform? Is that possible?
Yeah, I'll show you how that works, but that will only work if they're in the same room with you, okay? So the way that works, yeah. So if you're doing a call on like we are right now where it's going to be recorded, then here, let me just show you this. So here you come over to the transcription tab and you'll notice that, so this has no audio. So I can either drop an audio file onto here, like an MP3 file or a WAV file or whatever you want. You can just drop it right onto here and then it'll upload it. And while it's uploading, just stay there and let it finish uploading. And then it's going to come back and it's going to check it to make sure that it's actually, a conversation. And then it's going to say, do you want to transcribe this? So it costs money to transcribe, but you've all been given free transcription. So don't worry about it. You have $20 worth of transcription credit that will last you many hours. So basically, if you want to record into the platform, let's just say I'm in the room like I am right now with somebody else, I could hit record and everything I'm saying right now is being recorded. You can see the counter is going up. And then when I'm done with the recording, I can just click the done button and then see it's going to upload the audio and it's going to analyze it. And you just wait here while it does that. And then when it's done uploading the audio, it's going to come back and it's going to say, do you want to go ahead and transcribe this? And then you can say yes. And at that point in time, then you can go do something else on the platform. But while this is happening, you just want to stay there and wait while it's being uploaded. So
okay, no, you answered my question in the beginning. If I've been in the same room versus because I can record on my phone and upload, so that's fine.
Yeah, do that. That's the best way to do it. Okay, excellent. If there's no more questions, I will let you go, and good luck with your cohort.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it.
All right, you guys, take care.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.